ultimately what gives you confidence to make these moves and to take risks as a business owner is having the numbers to back up your decisions. So if you understand your numbers, you understand your profit and loss statement, you understand your pricing, your margins, then you will have confidence.
So one thing that we talk the most about is how to scale without the chaos. I think often in business, it's really easy to get swept away in investing in things and not really strategically thinking through how you're going to get the return, what you're doing today versus what you need to do tomorrow. And so today, that's what we're talking about, is how to scale with that financial chaos. Andrea, what's your number one tip that you would give a business owner who's trying to scale so that they're not finding themselves in this position where they're like, I don't know anything?
The first thing you can do is get your bookkeeping done, get your financials organized so that you're able to see the picture clearly and make decisions. So that's the number one thing that you need to do before you do anything else.
I agree. I mean, whether or not it's you doing your books or you outsourcing, which I always recommend to business owners, if there's the first thing you're going to outsource your books, especially because there's a lot of frustration and confusion that can happen when you're doing your own books. It is better to pay whatever it costs to have somebody else go through that and do it. And because other than that, it's hard to build confidence behind your numbers if you don't have somebody in there being like, yep, you put that in the right account. Yes, you're looking at that correctly.
And you can't take advantage of any of the strategies, the cash flow strategies, the tax strategies. You can't start on any of those if you don't have your bookkeeping done.
Yeah, I would say the second thing I often try to encourage business owners to do is walk through their end-to-end customer journey and understand how their cash flows. Because I think the one thing that is very tricky is a lot of times business strategists will talk about that top line revenue, make more sales, generate more income. But they don't consider that they're offering payment plans or how their offers are priced and stuff like that. And that's usually how people find themselves in a bad situation, is they did not consider what cash they have today, tomorrow, and in the future. So they make this investment today and then they're broke tomorrow and they have payroll due. And so in turn, they're like putting money back in the business that they didn't have to do if they just waited 2 pay cycles, because they knew they had this big contract coming that brought in more cash or whatnot. So it kind of goes back to the same thing about having your books done. Why that's necessary, first and foremost, is like having those books set up and predictable when you're going to review them is huge, because you need to know where your money is. And then 2, making it your business to understand how the cash flows in your business. So that means not just looking at your profit and loss. Profit and loss is like every business owner knows to look at their income statement or profit and loss, but none of them look at the balance sheet. And the balance sheet tells you how you're managing your cash often.
Right.
And because most business owners aren't accounting majors, this is where it's so imperative to make it your business to learn that first so you can go off and grow and scale well,
Most small business owners don't understand the balance sheet.
No.
And it's so important. It's a snapshot of your business and what account balances you have, how much debt you have, how much you owe on your credit card, who you owe money to. And you need to be looking at that when you're looking at the profit and loss statement in order to make a decision.
Yeah. And that profit and loss too is only looking at that activity at the time. So whether or not you're looking January 1 to now, or you're just looking for the month, you're only seeing one little piece of the puzzle. So you don't actually know what your cash looks like by looking at the month, because one, not everything is on your profit and loss, first and foremost. But two, it's not that holistic nature of how the business is doing. And you kind of need to look at both of them hand in hand while understanding how your cash flows, so that when you choose to invest in something, you know you can get that return.
Yeah, you also need to know where you're sitting at with taxes, because a lot of business owners will look at their bank account and they'll say, oh my gosh, I have so much cash. I'm able to take money out and buy a boat or buy a new house because I'm rich. And then they don't realize that they're going to have to pay a ton of it out come April 15th.
And I think to that same point is that they don't have anyone asking them that question. So what are you going to do tomorrow? If you make that purchase today, how are you going to recoup it? When do you start making money on that purchase? Like, it's the power of asking powerful questions that helps you really mitigate the chaos that can happen when you're growing and scaling. Andrea, you are growing and scaling. I am growing and scaling a small business. What do you feel like is the thing that you even stumble on, even though you know all of these things?
I think we all can get better at cash management and also understanding the cycle of your business and the seasonal aspect of your business. For example, because we're accountants, we make a lot of our money January through April. And then after that, we're not taking in as much cash throughout the year. So just really understanding your business season and cycle and how cash flows in and out throughout the year will help you with planning purposes.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And then I think for us currently, it's the growth stage and knowing where to invest the money in a growth stage and at what time, and then what's next. So we're currently growing as well. And so we've spent a lot of time, effort, and finances in growing the project management piece of the business, making sure our workflows are flowing and making sure that we have systems. So when we invite in more people into the business, whether it be a client or somebody supporting us and getting the work out, they're set up for success. But it's really hard to make those strategic decisions if you're not sitting down and trying to plot out the whole plan. And even with us being in the industry, Andrea and I take ourselves through our own process so that we're able to consider these factors, because if we didn't, we would just be in the same financial chaos, right?
Right. And I think ultimately what gives you confidence to make these moves and to take risks as a business owner is having the numbers to back up your decisions. So if you understand your numbers, you understand your profit and loss statement, you understand your pricing, your margins, then you will have confidence, okay, I can hire another person. Because I have this cushion. Okay, my prices make sense in order to hire this contractor. Not having that, it's just going to put you in no man's land, and you're not going to know whether it's the next right thing to do or not.
Yeah, and that same thought process is like running the scenarios, right? Like whether or not to bring somebody on as a W-2 versus a contractor, seeing what and how it impacts your cash flow is huge. Thinking about the tax implications of engaging somebody that's in a different state, or, there's so many layers to it I think we miss. Or you hit this threshold where you are now needing an in-house HR. So you have now, gone from just bringing on one more W-2, and now you're going into an additional department territory that's required because now you have so many people you're paying. And I think that's the thing most business owners miss, is this scenario analysis of thinking through if I do this, then what? And then if I do this, then what? And I think that's the beauty of this cash flow and tax strategy planning is like, we're not just taking what you're saying at face value. We're getting in there and we're diving in and brainstorming things you might not be considering too.
Right, exactly.
So what would you say is your number one tip for scaling sustainably without feeling like all over the place?
I think one is knowing your numbers and then having that team in your corner that you can bounce ideas off of and that will just give you the thumbs up to take that risk and tell you, yes, that makes sense according to what you have going on with your financials and your numbers. You're good there. Or playing devil's advocate and saying, hey, I know that you want to do this. I know that you want to hire this person, but based off of what you have going on, does this actually make sense for you?
100%.
Having that second set of eyes just to question your decisions. And it's our job as your CPA to question your decisions and what you want to do to make sure that we're protecting you.
And I couldn't agree more. I want to elaborate on the knowing your numbers. That's like a 3-prong approach. That is having good books. That's having somebody who understands the ins and outs of your business. That's that cash flow side of the house. And then that third is that tax strategy. If you make this decision, then what does it look like on the other end? And if you don't have those three, you're kind of missing the boat in being strategic. Strategy requires for you to think around the whole problem and how that problem and solution might create another problem and a solution. And you just don't know what you don't know. So often outsourcing that expertise and having them all work together is huge. So that's one thing we pride ourselves on is even if you're not in-house with us with all three things, we always encourage you to invite that expert to our calls so we're not missing anything, specifically when we get into big strategic decisions that are being made, whether it's hiring people, investing in a retirement plan or a health benefits plan. Having more conversations around it and bringing that before you decide to do it is huge. Because Andrea, I'm sure you can speak to this, but how many times have you looked at something and you're like, I just wish you would have asked me the question? Because had you had that opportunity to weigh the scenarios, it would have been a totally different outcome, right?
Right. And people think that they're being annoying by asking questions or that they're sounding stupid. But whenever anyone comes to us and just brings something up, we're always like, thank you so much for asking us this, because it's important to understand what you have going on. And we really take pride in helping you and answering your questions timely so that you're able to execute and grow your business as fast as you can.
For sure. And I think it is that partnership piece that is required in that CPA relationship and that CFO relationship, really feeling like they know your business and that they're coming to the table with, hey, I'm not only an expert in this field, but I also know what you value, how your business works, and why this is going to work for you or it's not going to work for you. So if you are interested in being a little bit more strategic in the decisions that you're making, you should definitely reach out to us.